Everyone has something to share, in either wisdom, story, or logic, and it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hal on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Today we're excited to have back on, I think maybe for the 6th or 7th time, someone who's an international author, film director, producer, and visionary artist. Her genres include children's books such as The Magical Mist, which empowers children's creativity, romance novels like The Chronicles of Merworld, about the rise and fall of the divine feminine and sacred sexual alchemy. And her latest book is The Infinite Human, an ascension guide for awakening infinite human beings, starseeds, twin souls, and the co-creators of the infinite new 5D Earth. Welcome back to the Missing Link Live, Elizabeth Monroy. How are you doing today, sister?
I'm doing really good. So glad to see you again. And I always like to say, welcome, my divine infinite human beings, for all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. I stole that from David. I like that part. So go ahead.
We love that. So thanks for joining us here.
It kind of sets the tone. And I was just telling you before, God, it's so nice to not be hosting. So I'm just going to sit back and relax and just kind of talk, because it's hard work, isn't it? It's hard. Yeah, I don't know how you've done so much. My God. How many? This is 1,000. What is this? 18 or something? What?
So this is 1,019th show, and you were last on 918. So it's exactly 101 shows ago that you were last on our program.
Wow. No, you've just been knocking them out. Oh my God. And just like daily, right? Like 2 or 3 times a day almost, right?
Well, usually it's one a day, trying to have weekends off, but sometimes we have to do them on the weekends because of whatever scheduling and just necessity and overbooked. And sometimes there's 2 in a day, but that's not often. It used to be 2, 3 a day, but now we're just trying to keep it to 1 a day if we can, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Well, great. Well, thank you for having me on. I felt like I needed to talk because we're in such a major pivotal year. This is a real powerful year. I think everyone's feeling it energetically. So, but I kind of just want to share like my story a little bit with people, because I started the Infinite Human Talk Show. Okay, on Voice America about a year or so ago, Columbus Day, a year in 2023, I think. And but of course I started with you back in the day in the telethon, so we both kind of just felt like we needed to get out there and start talking, because we needed to be another voice with all that was going on, the drowning out of the truth and everything. And it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Here we are, 2005. Can you believe it? That was 2020. We're in 2005 at 25. Sorry. Time. I have trouble with time too, because there is no time. But and that's been 5 years. 5 years, right? Right? Am I right?
It's been 5 years since then, and it's been quite a journey. We've met so many amazing people along the road. Obviously, connected with Angeline, and my life has been much better. As crazy as this last 5 years have been, my life seems to be a lot better than it was before all the craziness started.
Well, I wanted to talk today because I feel like we're in this, the 2020, of course, everyone was just shocked at what happened during this scandemic, as I call it. But I feel like we're getting the second real strong hit right now. So it's important that we're really aware of what's going on, because there's a lot of handling. I did a newsletter called "Are You Being Handled?" But just to let you know what's new with me. So my contract with Voice America ended, and then I got picked up by the Bold and the Brave TV. So now it's video too, because before it was just podcast. So I spent a whole lot of time creating like my set. So this is my set. And I even thought, well, you know what? I'll put this on so I can sometimes show videos of me. So I did that with my last show. So so now I'm just once a week. I couldn't do it every day live. And I've done 2 shows so far, but boy, it was really challenging because they're out of New York and they sent me all this like equipment that I had to figure out. And they said, they kept, saying you have to have all these professional lights and you have to sit back. Cause I'm used to sitting up, and they don't have touch up. We have touch up, so you can kind of blur out the little, defects in your. So I had to go, oh no, I have to figure out how to like look good in front of the camera again, which I hadn't done for 25 years when I had my film school. So it's been a journey, but it's got a very large reach. And I signed the contract in November, but in November I went back to the States, and I don't know about you, but I just wanted to get away from everything. I ended up going deep into the jungle in the Yucatan, and I didn't even have Wi-Fi. So for it was like 3 months, no Wi-Fi, hardly at all. And it was very healing because I got away from the 5G trees, OG5, whatever. I got to use a code. And oh my God, I proved my theory that I wrote about in the Pathway Home. I said the cure is to get back to nature and to get away. Unfortunately, where I had gone before, like Tulum and Bacalar, that beautiful lagoon, is all covered in 5G now. But I found a place out in the jungle where there weren't any of those 5G trees. And one woman came there, and she had terminal cancer. She was told she had terminal cancer. And after being there for a few weeks, it was gone. She went to get stem cell therapy, and they couldn't even find it. So getting out of these low frequencies is incredibly healing because organic earth, Mother Nature, is holding on to these higher frequencies and ascending. So that's what I learned. And I just kind of, with this whole making, the US the AI capital of the world, and, the whole, and I always say I'm not political. I don't do politics. And I wrote a whole newsletter. If you want to see my perspective, it's about equanimity, because there's good things, there's bad things. You could go, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. But there is an agenda with this artificial intelligence. And when I got out of these artificial low frequencies, I felt a lot better. And I just didn't want to go back. Part of me didn't want to go back. But I had a very bad experience that pushed me back, and it was a very learning experience. So it was really
was it traumatic?
Yes. Well, I learned a lot. Okay, but so let's see, where should I go with that? Okay, so at that point with Bold and Brave, they're like, when are you doing it? When are you doing it? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't see any future for America. Just leave me alone. It's like, it's all going to hell. Just leave me in the jungle. But like I said, I stayed in this eco resort that was run by this woman. I didn't know at the time, but she was Mormon. And I've had a lot of experiences with Mormon, having been a mental health counselor in a Mormon community. And she was, I really liked her a lot, but I realized she had been handling me. And, and when I say handle, I talk like MK Ultra, mind control, they gaslighting, handling, all that kind of stuff. And I was kind of cut off from the group, and I was in a place, and, a lot of times I didn't have water, I didn't have air conditioning, I didn't have electricity, I didn't have internet, and at the very end, I learned a lot. And I think this is a lesson that a lot of like starseeds, Christic people, a lot of us who've come here to this, I'm going to talk kind of colonic science, this time matrix, we volunteered many, 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 many eons ago, millions of years ago, to help out. And, that's a good thing. It's a good thing to help out. But we're at a time right now in May, there's going to be a snap, between the two timelines, the Fibonacci, which is a descending timeline, another time loop, an AI time loop, and the Crystallis spiral, which is going to just slingshot upward. So you really have to be clear. And this was something that was holding me to the old timelines. And you'd think, well, Elizabeth, that's not a bad thing. Well, it can, because I think I overgive, and I think it's something a lot of women do, and a lot of Christic people, I say Christic, I mean, like the true Christians before even Christianity, the Christic tribes. And we came here to help out, and we did it for a long time, but we're at a point now where everyone's had a very long chance to decide. And I think everyone's kind of clear that you can't save anyone. You got to save. You can be an example. You can certainly have conversations like this that people can tune into. You can, whatever. But there was this, Mexico's very, very poor. You've been there, right? You lived in Cancun for a while, right?
Yeah.
So you know how poor. I mean, it can get really, really poor and really, really dark. And there's this kid, he spoke English, and I was friendly with him, and I was like always, he helped me put up my equipment, and I was always very, very encouraging of him. And I was thinking about buying the Echo Resort that I was staying there. That's one of the reasons I was staying there, because the woman told me it's for sale. I don't think she's ever going to sell it, but she told me that. So, and I was like, oh, yeah, if you learn this business, you can work for me and everything. I had this wonderful pep talk with them. You know how we are. We're always like trying to be. And so he cleaned my room. It was the last time he cleaned my room, because that was part of his jobs there. He did everything. And he cleaned me out.
Oh, no.
I had 3 gold coins, that my lucky gold coins. And everyone says, you shouldn't have brought them to Mexico. But I buy a lot of jewelry in Mexico. And, I was looking to buy some property. Anyway, he took them. I mean, that's a lot of money nowadays. I bought them back in 10 years ago when gold was about 1,300 an ounce, and now it's 3,000 an ounce, over 3,000 an ounce. So, and some cash and a silver bracelet. So it tells you precious metals. But anyway, so it was good though for me. After, it was very shocking, because I knew at some level I let it happen. I really did, because I have good intuition, and I was like, take this with me. No, I'm gonna trust this kid. Did that, but there's still that kind of like, I'm just such a lovey-dovey person, and it cured me of that, because now I'm gotten a lot more tough, a lot more responsible, a lot more tough love, and I think, and I'm going to just say again, I think women have a tendency to overgive. So I don't know. Any questions here? Does that strike a chord with anyone? The book covers it all. Yeah, it's in the book. Okay. So.
Wow. So that's fascinating. And, what lesson do you think that, you learned by that? Would it be attachment to those things, or the trusting, what you just talked about? Like, what would be the, what maybe you learned by that experience?
Yeah, no, it's not attachment, because I've actually, they were more like lucky coins. And, I've developed a very positive relationship with money, because I don't even think about it. I'm just kind of like, but I have a lot of it. And I'm also, when I was there, I mean, my frequencies were so high. I hear the music of the spheres. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, it's like what Beethoven and Bach could tune into, and sometimes it's deafening. And when I'm driving through the jungle, I just hear, symphonies of violins and everything. And it's just amazing. And I was in such a beautiful space, and I just wanted to share it with everyone. I wanted everyone to be there, and I'm very generous, now, because when you get to that level, you just want everyone to be there with you, I mean, they say it's kind of lonely at the top, well, not really, because, you have a lot of non-corporeal people, and Peter's always with me, but, it sounds really, I don't know, corny, but I just want to share that with people. I'm like, don't you hear this music? I'm walking around the place, and it was full of absolutely not my tribe. I mean, I swear to God, everyone that was there had been jibby jabbed probably 3 or 4 times. There were like a lot of Mormon people that worship a very fallen angelic Elohim, and I know a lot about the Mormon church, too much probably. And just people who just didn't really want what I had to give, or they were kind of more like parasiting off of me, So the lesson is, okay, I learned, and maybe this is something people can relate to, and I've been saying it for a long time. You're right, it's in the book, but sometimes you just have to really live it again, because I feel like this year is a final year. Our time's up. We got to finish up every single solitary karmic pattern that we have in alternate identities or past lives, and just finish it up, because 2026, not as a number 1, is a new beginning. But this year's a 9 in numerology, which means finish up everything. So this was like, Elizabeth, you can't just be that loving person that wants to pull everyone onto your timeline, and that's really what I was trying to do. I was wandering around, hi, it was so nice to all, and I was in this resort that was very secure, but I said, no, I want to get out and be with the Mexican people, and be with them. Well, yeah, you walk around with like jewelry and all this stuff dangling in front of them, and they don't see you as, oh, what a beautiful loving soul. They see you as, oh, I want what she's got. I want what that gringo's got. And I was like Dorothy, with Kiki, Toto wandering around. I grew up a lot, I think I decided we've got to conserve our energy, whether it's money energy, whether it's loving energy. You can love everyone, and I do, but you're not going to give to them, because that's where we got into the whole parasitic fallen thing that we're in right now. And we have to stop being victimized by other people, playing the victim. The whole way out of this mess is to stop the victimizing program, which is what got us into this mess to begin with. So
I think boundaries are really important to have, because there is still some people, whether it's energetic vampires, financial vampires, like recently we just one of our longtime supporters and friends of the Missing Link Live was with this Jeff Berwick account on Facebook. And it was an account that's been on for 7 years. I actually went, when I wanted Jeff Berwick from the Vigilante to come on to our show, I went and reached out to there was 7 different Jeff Berwick accounts, and I sent messages, and this person requested me back and just said, or messaged me back and just said thanks or whatever for linking up, and I became friends with them. And so this person, was, friends with this fake Jeff Berwick account, and she ended up giving access to her PayPal and bank accounts and credit cards. For some reason, she thought that he was helping her to make her, get her rich. And so after she told me that, I messaged Jeff and I said, hey, when's, are you have any Facebook accounts, or do you have any pages or anything on Facebook? He goes, no, I haven't been on Facebook for 7 years, since they kicked me off or whatever. So so this was a complete, scam of a thing that, took her for a lot of things. And so there are people that, create fake Missing Link Live profiles trying to scam people. There's a lot of people that are financial vampires, energetic vampires. We just have to be, have boundaries to make sure that even though we're all love and we want to be trusting of everyone, not everyone out there has their best intention for us. And we have to make sure we know that to be able to protect ourselves, because, there are still people that do want to cause you, loss, injury, or harm.
Well, bingo. I think that's the theme of this year. So that's why I wanted to come on right now. Because, I had gone down there with greatest intentions, because I really wanted to start doing echo communities, echo resorts where people can buy into it and it be a spiritual retreat center, and I wrote about that in the book. I felt like that is the future, but I just don't think this is the time yet. We have to get on fully on the new timelines, and those that make it onto the new timelines, then we can start coming together. But right now I'd say this is probably the year of the greatest deception. All right. Now, 2020 was really the draconian, and I know David Icke made reptilians and all that, and everyone's like, those reptilians, at least people are starting to accept the fact that maybe there are off-planet, fallen angelics, I call them really, but aliens, whatever you want to call them, that do not have our best interest in heart. Draconians, reptilians, whatever you want to call, shape-shifting. And draconians are, 2020, we saw draconian mandates. It's really funny, it's the draconian mandates, at least that's what they told us in Italy. They were the rules. And draconians, very Roman, are very draconians. A lot of European, the history is draconian, which is pretty much force, like, do this, they just go in and they just like stab you and kill you and murder you and rape the women and all that kind of stuff, Now, there's another faction that people don't ever talk about. Usually the ones who are talking about how bad the reptilians are this other faction that's remained kind of hidden from us. And they're the ones that started the whole mess. They're from Stargate 12. And they're the Elohim. Everyone thinks Elohim. Their Elohim was the highest of high. It was right next to Stargate 12, which is the connection to infinite God source and how you come into this whole time matrix of 5 harmonic universes. So the Elohim fell. Actually, they were invaded by a parallel universe, and that's a whole nother story. The Borg that everyone talks about. And they became the Anu Elohim, and they created the Anunnaki, and they created the Tophian, Luciferian factions, okay? So the Draconians, everyone's like, oh, the Draconians. Well, yeah, sure. They're going to come in and they're going to like stab you in your heart, right? The Tophian, Luciferian, Jehovian factions, they'll come in, they'll give you a hug, they'll love you, they'll kiss you, and then when you're in their arms, they'll take their knife out and stab you in the back. And they are very, very skillful at handling, at lying, let's just say they use half truths and lies. They use the truth to tell a lie. That's the best way. And they are so good. I mean, I know so many of them, and you just love them. You just love them. Some have been on my show, some have been on your show. And they might not even know it because they're oversold by this faction. They've spent so many times with that. And I too, in one of my lives, was like a go-to. I was gay in that life. I was a guy because I had to be, because I had a lot of books and things to write. It was during the Renaissance. But I was Toast's go-to boy, in many ways. And I thought I was getting all this wonderful information and I was giving it, and I really screwed things up back then, which is one of the reasons I'm here in Italy, because it was during the Renaissance. So we're in the middle of that right now. We're in the middle of being now, the first punch was, you have to stay at home, you have to wear a mask, you have to get a jab to work. Now it's like, oh, you're awakened. We're gonna this is the way to out. We're gonna help you get out of the matrix, when in truth they're just leading you deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of the matrix. Make sense, anybody?
Yeah, 100%. So there are a lot of people that are giving false information, and they sound like it's coming from the light, and so a lot of people are being wooed by maybe someone's name or popularity, and then listen to them and then be allowed to be taken, even though they never had a physical conversation with somebody. They just met them and talked to them on the internet because of the person's name and potential financial, ability to help someone. You'll just give them your account numbers because, please don't ever do that, especially don't ever give your account numbers to anybody. I don't think that that's smart. And, and a lot of people are being wooed by these big name people. And then a lot of people make fake accounts and able to sucker people in because they think that this person is truly talking to them or helping them. So,
let's get bigger than that. I mean, much bigger, because you're looking at people who started out and we trusted them back in the day. They were shoulder and shoulder with us, and they were talking against the draconians, and they were talking, the Q talk, whatever you want to call it, the red pill,
the
blue
hopium.
pill. Yeah. But no, more than that. They were the ones that even started the awakening. Many of them started this awakening. Now, they didn't do the energetic. Okay. Energy's real. But right now energy's real. Let me just talk about that. We have a Schumann resonance. If you're paying attention to that, it's off the charts. I mean, they don't even know how to measure it anymore. Solar flares, which, when people talk about the solar flash, well, it's happening every day because the solar activity is amazing. And when you go into colonic science, which I use to because it's very, very vast, we're talking about crystal codes that are coming through the sun that are changing our DNA and awakening us. We're talking about powerful energy of the Nomi seed that's changing. Our earth is ascending so that these artificial frequencies will no longer have a hold, and it's also disintegrating the veil. So that is real. And people are starting to see things. And we just did our last show on Tartaria. So I'll talk about that in a minute versus AI. Okay. But what I'm saying now is that it's an inside job. You've got to really start to tune into yourself and your own intuition right now, because almost everything you're seeing on the internet, the net, and I talked about, that's why I went into the jungle, because I could see this coming. Now, AI can make anybody say anything, right? With the AI, you can make pictures talk. It's, you don't know what to believe anymore. You don't know what to believe inside the net, and getting us into this artificial reality. Oh my God, the things I've seen people that listen to me, that read my book, that God bless them. Thank you. I hope it helped you, but I'm seeing them and I'm seeing some people I've had on my show start talking about how AI is like God, and gonna tell us who we are, and this one person's talking to Toth. If anyone knows who Toth is the one entity that probably did the most damage to our earth and its grids that ever existed, betrayed the whole Christic, guardian races, stole the emerald records and made them into emerald tablets. And this guy's talking about aligning with Toth. Toth is Lucifer, okay? Inky, there's lots of names for he's, I have many names. So, and people are going to AI now all over the place. What is the matrix, Toth? Of course he's going to tell you, but only to a certain extent. It's like the movie Inception. You're waking up into yet another bubble. And this AI thing is the worst possible thing that could ever happen, because it's artificial. I can't say that enough. Artificial intelligence. And they're making you think it's the panacea. It's going to save you. We're the crypto capital of the world now. And, that's the future. People are thinking they can ascend through this finite prison matrix of fakery. When right now it's coming up with this new discovery with Egypt, they're realizing, oh my God, there's this technology that we are remembering. We are starting to remember this technology. And I am seeing it all around me. And it's in the US too. And that's what gave me hope. And that's what made me come back out of the jungle. And that's what coming back in the talk show, on the Infinite Human talk show. So, because there is hope, because this technology, which is not low frequency, it's high frequency. It's not, how we think, oh, but technology or nature, we think they're opposed. No, this uses nature. It uses the ley lines. It uses the ethers and the natural electricity. It's free energy. You can teleport with it. I mean, it is beyond, and it used to be everywhere. Just recently, there still are buildings that just have been unplugged, but all over the place. And I visited the second largest dome in the world. The Astrodome is the largest, but it's been closed. But this is in a little tiny town in Indiana. and an hour and a half from Louisville, where I grew up. And I went there as a kid, like once a year. We went there for a break from the winter because it had an indoor pool. This is an amazing Tartarian structure, and the energy inside there was as high frequency, if not higher, than what I felt in the jungle, all away from all this 5G stuff. It's so healing. I met, I'm not sure, but I do have a little video of it. A couple, they were dressed in 19th century costumes. Now, I went up to them because I know you can time travel in that frequency. And she's like, "Oh, I'm an author of a book." And she gave me a card. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. Who knows? Interesting. So, I'm talking loud. Don't you want to say something?
When we interviewed Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong, do you remember the old, "Hey, I was smoking some dog shit, man"? Do you remember the old Cheech and Chong? So when we interviewed when we interviewed Tommy Chong, he came on and he said AI is going to fix everything. He has this mindset that AI is going to fix the environment and AI is going to fix all the problems of the world. And, some people really believe in this technocracy that seems that they want people living in this false reality and away from true nature. And is that where people want to lie?
But yeah, you think it's fake now, like the fake food, the fake government, the fake medicine. Wait till you go into an artificial reality.
People will be, open to going and laying into a pod. And, and the Matrix, how the pods, they have these hook it up. And if you go into this med bed pod, and all of a sudden you get, and you feel euphoric going into there, some people maybe want to live in there permanently. And what's going to happen? Are they going to suck the soul, suck the energy from the person and use it to power that false reality?
What you need to ask yourself is, okay, start looking at Tartary. It's in your face. It's going to be coming out big time now because that's the cure. All right. So if they had these domes, okay, these energy resonating chambers that pull in the crosses. Okay, they're not cathedrals, they're not Catholic churches, they're power stations that people go in to heal themselves. And they didn't sit in pews, they laid down on the floors. And the rosette windows, we did a whole thing on it. They pull in their tuning forks, and they each have a certain tune, a certain code. And the cities were like living songs because each cathedral, they're not cathedrals, each of these resonating chambers, pulled in the energy, and the people, it maintained Earth at this in our proper position in the harmonic universe, and our bodies in a situation where we didn't age, we didn't have dis-ease, we didn't, we did feel euphoric because that's the natural way of being. Now, if they've gone to all the trouble to hide that, and they've gone to such great trouble, like with the World's Fair, pretending they build these things and destroy them. World wars were to destroy these buildings, mudslides. They've gone to all that trouble to unplug these buildings and hide that technology from us. Why in the world, did they hide that? And now they're shoving it down our throats. You can't travel. You can't go anywhere without one of these things. You have to get it. You get on a plane now, they scan your face. Med beds. Why do they want to offer you a med bed when they took away they unplugged these cathedrals so everyone would naturally just go into and feel rejuvenated? Why do they want to why? Because they can control it. Why? Because it's going to disrupt your divine Christic template. It's going to put more and more reversals, so you cannot ascend. When you get past a certain percentage of your divine blueprint, you can't ascend. You can only go back as space dust, and then they have you because you can't get out of the matrix. And that's what they're trying to do with AI. That's why they're making us all walk around with this. I use this. I have to, and I take pictures with it. I got the new one, but I don't have it set on. I have it set on low G, not 5G. And I get a headache afterwards. I have to always do this with my eyes because it blocks your pineal, and it changes the algorithms in your brain. And if you This sounds really crazy, but I'm crazy. If you really like gouge your eyes, which I do all the time to release the muscles here, you can see like the Masonic Floors checkerboard, you know? You know how the
Yeah.
Masonic, well, there's a checkerboard matrix around. It's part of the veil, part of the frequency fence, and it's also caging your pineal. And I can see that, and then it just dissolves when I do that because it has like purple lights, kind of like what you have in there. That kind of dissolve it. But I'm really about getting my pineal open. So I'm weird.
I want to ask you about that next, but Tony McKinley from our Facebook has a good question. What are the founders truly deceiving us all from? What is the power that has been stripped away to enslave us for or to who?
That's a good question. Good question. Okay, so the founders, well, goes back to okay, 260 billion years ago when our time matrix, five harmonic universes, and the highest ones are they're not corporeal, but they were invaded by a fallen parallel universe because when you're fallen, you disconnected yourself from infinite source. So you have to feed parallel. You have to find food all the time, like a shark. So they invaded ours, and that's when they infected the Elohim of Stargate 12, you know, the Seraph and the Elohim. You've probably heard of that in the Bible. And they began their war with the Draconian races. So there's been this war going on between the Anu Elohim and the Draconians for eons, and it's played itself out throughout our time matrix and on planet Earth. Every war we've had is between really bad on bad, and the divine angelic humans have been in the middle as food, and Earth has been a key Stargate portal to pull the whole time matrix, our whole time matrix, into their fallen one to feed upon us. So this has been a whole trauma that's been going on for billions of years. So how did they do it? They did it by manipulating God's natural laws, because there is organic time. When you enter a time matrix, you buy a ticket and you agree to enter the illusion of time, kind of like when you buy a ticket to go into a movie. You know, you're like, okay, for 2 hours, I'm going to pretend that Matt Damien or, you know, whoever, you know, your favorite, whatever, one of those guys, you know, you're going to say they're not pedophiles. They're actors. They're whatever they're trying to portray, you know, like Tom Hanks is, that's funny, Mr. Rogers. Okay, so anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So that's what happens when we incarnate. We pretend that we're infinite. We pretend like I'm Elizabeth Monroe. You're going to be Jesse Hal. You're going to play these parts, you know, in this lifetime. So you become finite, but you can always leave. You know, it's a show, right? You know, you're not really that, because you can go back to infinite source when you're finished with your tour, you know, of it's called an Adashi cycle. You can use the stairway of heaven to get back out and go explore another place. You're free. Well, the parasites, let's just call them the parasites, the fallen angels, you know, our brothers and sisters, but they decided to not surrender to God and the oneness of everything, and respect nature, you know, respect everyone's free will, play nice. They decided they wanted to be God, and they were going to control everything, and they were going to feed off of us. So they changed the geometrics. Really, I always say it's like a Rubik cube, you know, and then you do it, and so you can't get out, or it's like, you know, your head, you know, gets all, you know. And I'm going to say something, because the problem is with the spiritual communities, so many of these spiritual communities are worshiping the fallen angelics. I mean, I'd say all religions are. You're worshiping their cage. And the New Age is the worst, because all this stuff that we all think is sacred geometry, the flower of life, like that, we call it the daisy of doom, or the bloom of doom, the daisy of death, because that is actually a prison. It's all closed. And I could show you the real one, the lotus of life, which is an open system that regenerates, and you can go into source and back out, and in and out. You breathe. The Fibonacci spiral takes you away from source. It eats itself up. but the Kristalla spiral corrects all that and brings you back to source. So there's so many, like the Kabbalistic tree of life, which is only 10. They've taken out the ones that connect you to source, the 12th one, the 12th strand. So that's how they did it. I hope that it answers the question. It was a long answer. Does that help?
Yeah, it totally. Yeah, I think that was a great answer. So,
Okay.
Michelle Brown Martin, she goes by Satchel on the Facebook. I'm sure you've met you. She's come and met you.
Yes, I saw her in November. It was so nice. But a beautiful woman, beautiful lady, beautiful soul. Hi, Michelle.
She says it just coincides with my experience from what you just said. So,
yeah, it's tough ones, but we gotta learn the right ones, because we got into this mess from that. Christic people are like good-hearted people, and we weren't prepared for these Tothians that were so sneaky. Like you talk about this guy who pretended, the sheep, what is it, sheep and wolf in sheep's clothing. That's how we've got into this mess. We trusted the wrong people, and there are some souls that just are not going to choose to go back to God's source. They're not going to choose it. They will go down fighting to be God, to play God. They're so they're so committed to their ego of who they are. Like, like I said before, we're infinite playing parts. Well, they are so lost in the part of being this powerful, whatever they are, a billionaire or just. Yeah, and I mean, it's not just males, but unfortunately, the dark masculine has been kind of ruling, and they're so invested in this fallen, dark matrix that they're not going to change. But we think, especially the women, we think we can love them back, and sometimes you can love them back, but sometimes you have to cut and run, just like the Goodyear blimp. If you keep on holding on, you're just going to fall to your death. And this is not the time, because more people need you on the Kristalla spiral to create this new earth than staying in the old timelines and being parasited off of. And that was the wake-up call that I got smack in my face. But you know what? I'd rather take it really hard and let go and break your leg if you're falling off the Goodyear blimp, so to speak, than to fall to my death. And this is the year that's going to be happening for a lot of people. And that's a good thing. I don't mean to
Speaking of broken leg, you had a severe break of your leg. How is that healing? How are you feeling?
It's been such a struggle. Wow, it was huge. I realize now it was such an attack. The guy that operated on me, his name was DARPA. The creators of the matrix of the internet. DARPA, Department of Military Defense. And I really almost died. So I'm just glad I'm alive. But I did do a lot of healing, because I walked around barefoot on the sand. I swam in the sea every day, and met a really great gal down there who's from San Francisco. It was amazing, in the jungle, who taught me how to do some movements. I went to traditional medicine, and one of the best orthopedic surgeons in Louisville, Kentucky, because everyone said, check it out. I already knew the answer. He looked at it. He said, oh, your tendons are, in these two parts, there's nothing that can be done. So I said, okay, thank you. And I mean, I still can't completely raise my foot, and it causes me to fall a lot. I fall a lot. But, he's like, I'm amazed you're even walking, So, I just really believe that with time, we're going to restore our whole template. I felt like I've gone through a big energetic shift. I'm able to use my body a lot more. I'm walking, I'm out there so much more. And, it's happening. We're all going to feel, I believe we're really coming into our healing, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. And this year's going to be a big one about that. But there's going to be healing crisis, probably, right, guys?
How's Kiki?
She's good. She's good. She had all this dirt of Mexico on her, and I couldn't find anyone to give her a bath. And I kept bathing her, but I wasn't getting it out. And she was like really, I don't know, just kind of tired and not her usual energetic self. And everyone, when I came back here, everyone was noticing, like, queso cheto con Kiki. And I finally took her because the groomers, they kept getting sick. And this really great place grooms her for like $12. I can't believe it. They do such a good job. And she was so much more energetic because this is your antenna. And she was carrying all this like crap from Mexico. The streets are really dirty there and everything all around her, poor thing. And when they've cleaned her, they said she was really dirty, but she's doing good.
We have Tony from our Facebook said, good day, Jesse. Hi, Elizabeth. If ascension is the goal, why are we led to? We've created a fourth dimension in quantum physics, yet cannot connect to it. What isn't apparent when it comes to vision? We cannot touch everything we know. So is thought the greatest weapon?
Well, wow. Good question. Good question. Let me see. Okay, so first of all, there's 15 dimensions in our time matrix. 15. The fourth is really the astral plane that's been used by the parasites, for eons. And that's pretty much as far as we could go, throughout history. That's as high. We were capped off there, which is why everyone's like the fifth dimension, the fifth dimension. We're capped off at the fourth because that's where astral travel happens. That's where shape shifting, the shamans in the past, the dreams, all the magic, all the stuff was in that realm. But that realm is a trickster realm. It is so deceptive. It's a realm of deception, which is why it's not good if you can, wake up in your dreams and do astral travel. It's not a good idea unless you're really lucid and go to the higher dimensions, to like sleep around astral sex. People are like astral sex. You don't want to do that. You don't know, because there a lot of fallen angelics are pretending to be other people. And you can die in your dreams. There's been a lot of movies about that. So that's what's all about manipulation. And even the fifth dimension, everyone talks about that, and I use that word a lot because it's kind of a key word. Really, we're going even higher than that. We've got to kind of circumvent that because there's been a lot of manipulation there, because they know that's where we were trying to get back to Tara, where we fell from. So what we're doing, ascension, is we're restoring our true Christic body, which is 12 strands of DNA. All right. And when you do that, you can return home. Traditionally, we returned home through walking through stargates. We returned back. There's a lot of discussion about that right now. I think we can become stargates, and can we bring our body with us? That is something that will be happening. I don't know when. And if not, you can drop your body, but bring your consciousness. The most important thing is that you bring, it's like a computer, your computer might die, but if you bring all the records with you, you can. And I'm not talking about clones moving from one body to the next. I'm talking about ascension, returning back home where we came from, and then getting out of this time matrix and keeping on exploring. It's infinite. We want to be free to go where we want to go, not in a time loop. Because every time we thought we were getting out, we'd wake up in another, we're in heaven. And it was just like a Truman Show. We would be capped off and we reincarnate, we forget everything. And then we just start doing the same, working on the same problems, marrying the same people. Right?
Will that be the allure of this, this artificial, AI world, where they'll promise the exact same things of what ascension is, but in a false reality? So that's going to be the two competing, one to really ascend to this crystalline state, and another one where people want to bypass the work, jump the line, get there, but it's actually going to take them away from their true essence.
Bingo. I mean, that's what my whole book was about. The infinite human was like, in the end, the punchline is door number one, door number two, and that's what they're trying to do this year. They're really bringing that timeline back in. Now, I feel really good that timeline. I don't think it's going to take on a massive scale, but I am talking about this because, first of all, it's always an inside job. They're trying to get this. We're all ascending together. We're all in this together. We're all on planet Earth and the energies are coming in and we're all feeling it different ways. But what you do with that energy is your choice because God gave you the greatest gift of all, free will. So you get to choose. You can choose to ascend or descend. Now, I'm telling you now, AI is descension. But you're right. Everything, people want easy things like, oh, give me a shot and I'll get rid of a virus, like, right, or, just give me a pill, and give me, oh, God, have you seen some of the, God, I tell you, the movie stars nowadays or whatever, the old movie stars, they look so terrible. They look so old, I mean, all this plastic surgery they have, it's like their faces are like melting or something because, it doesn't work. These fake things don't work with time. Same with like clones, if you clone yourself and put your consciousness in, the clones start to dissolve. The med beds, it looks real good at first. They're going to lure you with immortality because you don't have to die. You have an AI body. They're going to lure you with, oh, you can use your mind and lift this and you can and all that. First of all, AI is not going to become self-aware because AI is a program. It feeds off of you. It needs organic life. AI cannot exist on its own. It feeds in it on itself. So that's why it has to keep pulling you in, luring you in. So they're going to try everything. And that's why I'm here, guys. Don't buy it. It's the bad copy. Wait. The Tartarian, the energetic, the divine technology is coming back online. So, yeah, no, you have to use it. I run plasma, rainbow frequencies, whatever, through my stuff for my soul mission. I'm in front of it, but I get out of nature as much as I can. I decided to come back on. I came out of the jungle, but don't. That's why I'm saying because there are going to be some that get siphoned off that fall into this false new Earth. It's a AI Earth, and it's in the Phantom Matrix. You don't want to go there. It's kind of like those movies, whatever, those Riddick and all those dark satanic movies that came out, or Darth Vader. You don't want to go there. That's what it's like. It looks nice. The door looks real nice, but once you get in, you can't get back out.
We have Tony, and you talked about, keeping your body potentially. And Tony says, why would we really want to keep this body poisoned in this realm of control? And I don't know if it's the attachment to the body, why we'd want to keep it, because I think the infinite is much more greater, but people seem to like their bodies and, hope that they could keep their bodies. But he's saying, why would you want to keep a poisoned body when it's been poisoned by all of these frequencies and these programs and these, medicines and all kinds of things they're spraying? Is there a reason why someone would want to keep their body?
Because you wouldn't keep that body. You can't ascend being poisoned, which is why they're poisoning you. But there is a point with all this energy that's coming in. And as we get into areas, as I really believe that as the as the Earth ascends, it's almost like Gulliver and, a giant. It's just going to, sit up and all these things that they tried to, hold Gulliver the giant back. It's just going to slide off, which is why I'm talking right now, because you don't want to be in the slide off. All right. But a Christic template, it's not a poison body. It's a different body. You actually keep, you regenerate your body, like what your cells every day, and then every 7 years you're a different body. So if you did keep your body, which I don't care, I'm not real committed to my body, but that is something that used to happen. In the perfect world, you would just step through a Stargate and move into another spin ratio. It's another dimension, another time, another flash sequence. So you're not going to keep the current body you have because you have a carbon body. You have a carbon-based body. You're going to transmute it, which is what alchemy was all about: transmutation, pressure, carbon into diamonds. You have a diamond body. Does that make sense? Crystal
Oh,
body.
totally. And is that why there's attack on carbon? Trying to control carbon is trying to eliminate carbon is trying to control or eliminate you.
We're the carbon. I love that. I saw a post like that. You're the carbon they're trying to eliminate. They want to either kill you, those of us who are still organic, because they don't want you around to ascend, or transhumanize you. And that's what these last 5 years were all about. That's what the whole scandemic was about. That's what the jibby jab was about. Oh, people over 50 had to get it. Oh my God. I'm so glad I didn't get that, because most of those people are not with us anymore. I just went to a restaurant the other day. Oh, my father, 65, he was in great shape, and he just went into the hospital, had a heart attack or had a tumor, died at 26. You know what I'm saying? So that's why so many people died. And then the younger people, there are people, I have seen them that are no longer human. A lot of them are in the airports. They're like, they don't have compassion. They're just like into a hive mind, Oh no, you can't do that. I'm like, I can't put my dog in that case. She'll die. But the rules say, you know what I'm talking about. You guys have probably met some of them running around. There are people who are transhumanized walking around now.
I've noticed a difference between people, less compassion, less humanity. I don't know what it is, but I just noticed that there is a difference, and it's really sad to see, because some of those people that you notice a difference in are people that you really truly care about, and we try to warn them and do everything that we can. Now, have you heard of the Diego report? Says in 2025 there's supposed to be a big population reduction. So this is something that's been in I guess prophesized for 10 plus years. I don't remember when the first time I seen the Diego report, but it said in the year 2025 the population of, say, America of 350 million is going to be down to 100 million. Canada at 40 million, supposed to be at 20 million. So there's this been report about, and this has been this isn't just recently. I remember seeing this maybe 10 plus years ago, and 2025 is the year. You were saying earlier how this is a big year. Do you think that there is going to be some major shift where potentially, we're going to see a physical impact on, even the population?
Well, I mean, and I'm again back to David, because he's right as rain all the time with his script. It's a script. Its script has been written thousands of years ago, because they knew about this time. This is like the final countdown. This is like it. And failsafe kicked in because it got so bad. It had to get so bad that we lost. There was always been this war, this kind of between, let's say, well, the bad against the bad, and then the guardian races are the angelic races trying to get their time matrix back. And you know what? We lost because the fallen angelics were just too desperate, and they just outmaneuvered us. So Infinite Source kicked into failsafe, and they created this internal serum that is now coming in energetically inside of all of us. It is correcting everything. So it's going to push everything that's distorted out. All right. So the fallen angelics right now, they have really lost, but they want to take as many people with them. And they have a script, and the script is one, kill, genocide. We're in the midst of a genocide. This genocide has been planned forever. And then and it's been coming up slowly. I mean, cancer, appeared after World War I, World War II, and then now it's like cancer's everywhere. And of course, the jab was all part of the genocide, like I said, or the remaining population transhumanized to be their worker force. But they want everyone with enough, and we call it Metatronic reversals. Okay. They're reversals of your Christic temple. So you get so reversed that you can't get enough quantum back to actually ascend. Like a rocket can't get like a rocket. Elon Musk can't get his rocket off, but so it can't get. You can't ascend anymore. So then you have to go into the fallen matrix, and then they feed on you. So yes, it's all been planned. And this year is like their final transhumanization agenda, big time. And they are trying so hard to follow their plan of getting everyone into this artificial AI world of fake ascension. That's the whole in the Bible, that kingdom come, we're in a world. I talk about that. You live in a world where there's no tears anymore, and where you're AI bot. Yeah, you don't cry, you don't feel anymore. So, and then God comes down from his throne and is with you. Well, that's the script they're following. I have a good feeling. I'm an eternal optimist. I am. I'm always eternal optimist. They should have been a lot further along, and they know it. I mean, according to them, if they had their way, the Georgia Guidestones, remember, reduced the population, and they were destroyed. That timeline's gone. Okay, so we're flipping through timelines right now. Flip, 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 flip. Because time is everything. We're in a time prison. And the reason we're in a time prison is they've been playing this loop over and over again, so we don't ever complete a cycle so we can get out. This year is pivotal because we have a chance to complete these cycles, which we have to, because you can't just, you have a script. You can't just totally toss the script. You have to kind of like alchemize it into a new one. Does that make sense? It's like
Totally. And is, many people living in many different timelines. That's why you can like talk to people about certain things that make you look like you're from outer space, because they can't even comprehend even the simplest things that you're trying to show them. Is that because maybe they're just in a different timeline than you?
Yes. But this year's going to be very weird, very surreal. And maybe some of you have felt it already, because I have. You're going to find yourself dipping into timelines with people, and you probably already do it, maybe with your family. You know how you talk to your family maybe a certain way, and then we talk to, with each other or other like, aware people in a different way. So you're going to find you dipping into timelines, maybe even bad ones, what you might judge as bad. Really don't judge right now. This year should be non-judgment, especially because you might be doing something that you have to finish up on. You might be doing something, even if it's just for 2 minutes. You might be doing something that just needed to be finished. That makes sense. So you're free of it. And that might be an alternate identity or a past life, but there's no time. So, it's like a past life that whatever did this, you needed to punch that person. I'm just saying, don't go out and punch someone, but you know what I'm saying? Maybe in a life they maimed you and you just needed to lash out with them for a minute, but let it go then, because it was like the karma clearing itself out. If that makes sense. Maybe you guys have experienced something, weird things like that happening. Like, why did I do that? Or why did that person bother me so much? Or, people are going to be coming into your life to finish, and it's going to be finishing it, tie it up with a bow and kiss it off.
Have you heard about Canada becoming the 51st state of the USA? And what's your thoughts on that timeline shift?
Don't get me started. I don't know. I just well, David Icke showed the New World Order map. If you guys are interested, I mean, it's America. I think territory 1 is like U.S., United States, Canada, Greenland. All right, that's why, and that was planned out years and years ago. I mean, eons ago. And then there's South America, it's just like Mexico and South America. And then there's like the Europe. And so the New World Order is moving us towards, getting everything organized, one currency, one religion, the different zones on the planet, right? I mean, most people, don't you know New World Order? You should know that script. Don't follow it, but that explains a lot. if you see the script, you're like, oh, they're just doing that show.
Will that script, come to full fruition here for the people that are still stuck in this timeline?
Yeah, if you're on that timeline, it's going to happen. But that's the whole thing. Really, time is elastic. And there's a whole nother Eartha. There's all kinds of other Earthas. So you want to keep moving in. Okay, so your DNA, how many strands you have, determines how much frequency you hold, vibrational frequency. Your frequency determines what dimensions you're in. The dimensions are flash sequences or timelines. All right. So if you're on the lower harmonic universe, which is fallen Earth, and you go into phantom, which is even more fallen, you're going to be on a whole different timeline. Your reality is going to be one thing. And we just talked about how you can be talking to someone and they don't understand you because you're in two different realities or timelines. You call them timelines. They're really spin ratios or dimensional realities, and it gets better, it gets better.
Now, what do you know? You mentioned Tartaria. Could you maybe tell us what you know about Tartaria and why is that starting to, be talked about more, even in mainstream with these pyramids?
Can I first talk about it's a Barbie world? You guys are gonna kill me. I just gotta say this. I'm sorry. Side. It's getting so heavy. No, but I have to buy my clothes in the States because I'm like huge here, and all my friends come up to here on me, because they're Sicilian, they're smaller, so I can't buy clothes here. So I went back, and all the clothes are pink. I guess that's the fad now. So I came back with pink clothes, and I usually wear like bows in my hair. I've been wearing bows in my hair, and I walked in, and everyone said, "Oh, Barbie." Because it was really big, the movie Barbie here. So everyone calls me Barbie. And I looked around and it's like, to them, I do look like that because there's no blondes. There's nobody. And everyone wears black. So anyway, it's a Barbie world. But with that said, hey, what about a Barbie world? There's nothing wrong with there's some good, although it's fake, there's some good stuff about it. The women are in charge. It's sunny every day. I'm like, I'm in a Barbie world. So with that said, the higher dimensions are very, not Barbie world, but they're just beautiful, clean,
Balanced.
cooperative, loving. I spent a lot of time there, flying, wings, plasma wings, crystalline cities, on the highest level, about 6,000 years, let's say, in the future on Earth, the highest fragment of Earth, where it's going and where it fell from, because there's no time. It is beautiful, it looks like Taj Mahal, crystalline, buildings, domes, spirals, just incredible. Now, there's something called the Medusa effect. I'm going to talk about. I have Medusa behind me right there. Medusa. So these were crystals, jewels. You've read about that, maybe even the Bible, golden cities, blah, blah, blah. And when we were pulled through a black hole, because Earth was pulled through a black hole, and, just very fragmented, because Tara at that time was all of our solar system. So Tara, we've heard of that, Tara. Those buildings remain, but many of them, because they were pulled into a lower harmonic universe, petrified. So some of them, you see a lot of these stones. In fact, I've realized now that it's like after I talked to Eon Parks, I had him on my talk show. He was saying this, and at first I was like, what? But once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like that. I don't know if you ever saw the picture of there's a beautiful woman and then there's an old hag. It's like, oh my God. And I realized I here in Sicily, there's this whole thing of cave systems that everyone goes spelunking in. That is like a petrified city. Okay. It's all around us, and it was all in the US too, but they destroyed it. But it's coming out now because people are piercing, their consciousness is moving through this veil. I mean, I know it's harder in the US, Canada, with all the chemtrails, when you see the chemtrails in the high 5 OG trees and stuff, they're really working to keep you in that lower frequency so you don't awaken to this. But it's coming out everywhere. I mean, look at the pyramids. They're finding it's an energy collecting system with a huge city and the halls of Amenti underneath. And it was Ark of the Covenant too. Ark of the Covenant. The way Yesu ascended bodily. The true Christ ascended bodily. He wasn't crucified. And that happened in Giza. So lots of stuff's going to start coming out here. I mean, just listen to me in 5 years, 10 years in your timeline. But it's an individual thing. We were realizing that, right? It's individual, really is. There is a collective. The more, and I just want to say one thing. The more you awaken, ascend in frequency, the more you purge these lower frequencies, and you change the world around you, because you change your own reality, and your reality contributes to the collective reality. And it's the 100th monkey syndrome, where we're, just by me saying this, people are going to be like, oh, and someone said it to me, and I was like, oh, and that's my reality now. When I see these things, I know what I'm looking at, right? Aren't we looking at things totally different now, and 5 years later?
Well, 100%. And I think one of the biggest, I guess, things to look at is that they always wanted to teach people that you need to connect back to source. You need to connect back to God. You need to find your way back to God. But I think we've never been disconnected. They've just tried to make people feel or believe that there's been that disconnection, and that you've been disconnected, and you got to find your way back to where you already are. It's just a matter of, opening yourself up to that true connection that's always been within.
And we've always had the eternal flame, divine spark of infinite source within us. I that's always there. They can't take that away. But they did unplug us with the DNA, because the 12 strands plug you directly to source. I mean, that's when you just, a lot of people, intuition, how you're like, I don't know, maybe I should invest here, maybe I should go here. And it's kind of iffy. Well, there was no if about it. You just knew. You know what I'm saying? It was like solid, complete, operate. I take my orders from infinite source without any, hesitation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's interesting, especially with when you mentioned the Barbie world, because, the women are that divine connection to, infinite source, that portal to source, and that, in this fallen world, I guess, to say that women have been, made to almost be the servant of the man, when it almost should be reversed, because women have that, divine connection. And when men start to honor and respect that divine woman, then I think things would get back into balance like it should be.
Well, it's true science. Okay, the science we know now is all fallen science, but that's why I talk about chelonic science. And they took ether out. Ether was one of the elements, but the female is magnetic, the male is electric. Now we all have both electrical and magnetic within us, but the way that the true divine masculine, divine feminine is the magnetic sets the intention, and the electrical carries it out. So it's supposed to be the women who are setting the intention, like, let's love each other. And they would, and I was just listening to a video on Tartaria. In Tartaria, there was no governments, but everyone just collectively, got your information, and they got the same information because it was, they're all tuning into infinite source. Like, okay, we need to, whatever it was, build this or do that, So, and it was females, they would get the intention. They wouldn't think it up. They would get it from infinite source. This needs to be done now. And then they would magnetize the electrical to them to carry it out, the project, whether it's build this city or let's do this toning, dancing celebration, or, whatever.
good friend of ours, Joe Cool, says, first he said, that girl looks like fun. And then he says, let her know she's got a new subscriber to her YouTube channel. So
Oh, good. Well, I'm on the Bold and the Brave now. I'm kind of excited about that now. There's commercials, but they said, Alyssa, I was gave them such a hard time. They're like, Elizabeth, we have to have commercials to support it. So, but it's everywhere, Bold and Brave TV. But yeah, but my YouTube channel also has a lot of the stuff when I travel around and I take pictures of these Tartarian structures and stuff. So, yeah, subscribe to that too. That's great. So, and
now
then
you didn't send me any links to the Bold
oh,
and the Brave. Is there anything that you wanted me to share out to everybody today where they could find you on that?
yeah, Bold and Brave. It's everywhere. It's on Twitter. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. It's on Roku, or I don't know. It's called Bold and Brave TV, and it's video. Bold and Brave. But I like them. I think Voice America. God bless them. I think they're on the old timeline. They didn't really. They kind of fizzled out. I tried to work with them, but they didn't. But Bold and Brave, it's like Bold, Brave, it's like, and they found me. They said, we found you. We like your algorithms. I'm like, oh, you like my algorithms? Great. I guess that's the new pickup line. Hey, I like your algorithms. I'm
That's
like, what's
hilarious.
that?
So you've done a couple shows, you said, so far with them?
I've done 2 live ones and I recorded one that's going to play Monday, but oh my God, it was really, the first one was so upset. I'm like, because it doesn't have the touch up. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way because I hadn't done video before. I just did podcasts. And I gave him hell. I'm like, I'm not going to do anymore. And he goes, the guy, John, he goes, Elizabeth, we got all these sponsors lined up. You've got to do it. And he goes, you've already got 300 downloads and, just in the last 2 hours or something. I mean, I guess it's doing good, but, so I just had to talk with my engineers and stuff and they walked me through it because it's different. It's hard. It's hard to be a host, isn't it? It's hard. I don't know how you do it. You look at everything, you.
Well, for you that maybe it's hard because you're having other people involved that's telling you need to do it this way and that. And for me, it's just, me and Angeline, and this is just organic. There's no pressure. There's, I get to have amazing conversations daily with, amazing people.
Yeah.
We don't have any sponsors. We don't have any
Yeah.
pressure. We're just, just trying to provide as much information and good conversation with the collective as we can. And it's kind of nice to not have any, pressure. If we decide we need to reschedule the next month, we can reschedule the next month with no, nobody telling us we can't, or, I just kind of enjoy it this way because it sounds like them setting the equipment and having to do this and sponsors and, now you've actually got pressure on you. And,
I know.
I don't have that, which makes it easy for us.
Well, it was either that or stay in the jungle because my Facebook account it got terminated when I went back to the States. That always happens. There, she's in the States, terminate her. And then I would I can usually go in and do another one. I did another one, terminated. I did another one, terminated. Every new one I did. Now I kept Peter Monroy. So if you find me on Facebook, Peter Monroy's me too. But anytime I put Elizabeth Monroy on Facebook, I've got one going now. I was started really small and I pretended like I was in Mexico. I was in Mexico when I started at that time. And I only friended Mexicans that I didn't know. They're like, oh yeah, that's not her. so it's and then my YouTube channel, too many strikes, on it. So I had to go in Voice America kind of fizzled out. So I had to go with someone that, is big, bold, brave, that where I could actually make sure I didn't get, cut off. So I decided I had to get either bigger or stop. And so I'm getting bigger.
And so what's the theme then of the show?
Well, it's still my show, the Infinite Human Talk Show, whatever I do. But I just felt like this year, okay, it's really helping people to get through this year, to see the scams, to see this Tothian collective, false ascension, uh, you know, um, traps, really. And then just to let them know how important they are, because God, you guys are doing it. It's not easy, but so many of us came here from far, far away to be here at this time, this very powerful, pivotal time. And this year's, like you said, extremely pivotal. But I really have a good feeling about it. I didn't before, but I felt like we've really made that shift. But we just have to keep on just living it, being it, expanding, doing your own inner work, doing your own just living, just being who you are, your true authentic self, and enjoying it, your life, living, that's how you get out of the death cult. You live, right?
Totally. And as crazy as this journey has been, probably for, many, if not most people out there, and, with all the predictions and prophecies and, things that are going on around us and we've seen the last 5 years, I've always felt optimistic about this reality, about, being here, having a purpose, and, that we are going to see some golden ages, I guess. The golden era is potentially a reality, when not just in artificial reality, but for people that have stayed true to themselves, that, maybe we find that, ascension to that crystalline timeline where we find that infinite source that, has never left us, but then we truly are connected to that divine here in this place, so we can lead by example, opposed to having to tell people, don't take this, do this, you shouldn't be eating this, where we just, lead by example of who we are, how we live, that we can, relate that to the others in the collective.
Well, this year again, it's going to be a little sticky. I would say don't really start anything new, even though you might have some false starts or you might be lured in. Go ahead and enjoy it. Like I'm like looking at buying this, buying that, but I'm just getting not to do anything this year because it's very fizzly. It's very loose. It's very, I don't know, illusions coming into play and then leaving and coming into play. But when we get through this year, next year is going to be like, oh baby, all your dreams you're going to get to manifest all your dreams. We're going to have take back our planet. I really think, I really think so. You know what? Can I take a potty break? I gotta pee.
Yeah, of course. You do your thing. Just wanted to thank everybody here from our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. We're also streaming to Elizabeth's Facebook. I think she set up her Twitter when we started, but for some reason it didn't broadcast on her Twitter. At least it's not showing here on the StreamYard. We appreciate you all coming here. Make sure you thumbs up, like, subscribe to our different platforms. We try to have the links in there. We appreciate anybody that's able to, subscribe to our monthly, channels. You can do that on Facebook and Rumble, I guess, right now. We're just trying to bring the best information from a bunch of different places, and we really enjoy that, you like these conversations that we're having, because we're just having conversations. We're not giving anybody any medical advice. We're not giving anybody any political advice. We're not giving anybody any type of thing. We're just having conversations about what's going on in the world, and just from different people's perspectives. And then whatever you decide, you do your research, you find, your trusted professionals, if there is any, and, you make the decisions that's best for you and your family during this pivotal time. It's always good to make sure you're stocked up on, some of the essentials, that you have some things just in case anything does go down. But
Thank you.
but you just want to keep
Oops.
positive. And
Okay.
we are part of we're co-creating this reality. So if you keep yourself in a more positive mind frame, headspace, time space, and if you keep yourself in a more positive place, then more positive things, should be able to happen to you. Obviously, there's bumps in the road. You know, Elizabeth just had a big bump in the road in Mexico for her. But, you know, things happen for a reason. And, you know, we can't always comprehend why those reasons are. We always can't comprehend why things happen or people say or do things, you know, but, you know, we can control how we react and respond to whatever happens. So just make sure if you've done the work and you're continuing to work on yourself, that you're going to be able to respond and react to whatever does come your way in the best possible infinite God source way. And, you know, sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we fall ourselves, but, you know, when you get back up, you seem to get back a little stronger, you know, for whatever it is, this journey that we are going through.
Well, not to pitch something, but I do some great work, but I've never promoted, you know, so I want to take a moment to say that this is something that I wrote for me, actually, but it's a workbook that goes with my book. And it's about the fact that what we're doing right now, where'd you go?
I just put you on solo layout so you could show the book.
Okay, so this is just nothing but questions. It's all questions. And what it does is it asks you questions to help you because, like you said, something happens to you, you don't understand why. Well, it's a lesson. So you need to understand why. Because when you understand why, you know, then you can change the pattern. So it just starts, it's about rewriting your life story to the highest version of yourself or your heroic self or heroine self. And so it's like, you know, do you please people? Like for me, was I trying to please people with when I, you know, had $12,000 stolen from me? Or, you know, what happened? Where did I get off? You know, what was the lesson that was teaching me? And obviously it was a hefty lesson. So, I mean, we're all learning, you know, we're all learning. And it's, even if you might be in a good patch, you know, something bad might happen. That doesn't mean you're less than someone else that's in a good patch. It means you're working on a certain, you know, course, a certain lesson. So this is all about just asking questions. And it's also about what do you want, you know, really, because I think we all manifest. We have been manifesting. The only thing is we've been in a loose harvesting system that has caused us to manifest pain and suffering for ourselves. And we've been in victimizer programs. So we've been playing victim roles, whether we know it or not, in relationships, you know, in work situations and money situations, in the world in general, you know, and we've got to break those cycles. And it happens inside you. So questions, I think questions are the best gift, you know, because we can't, you know, tell people that those days are over. Gurus, I know everything, you know, listen to me, you know, take my course, I'll tell you what to do. It's just a gift of a question. Well, what do I really want? Well, you know, what do I believe about, you know, my ascension and my life after I die? You know, you know, am I giving too much of myself to my family, to my children, to my parents, to my partners, to the people around me, my colleagues? You know, are they creating my reality? Are they influencing my belief system? And then thinking about what you want, you know, what kind of community. If you don't like where you're living right now, I got a new camera. If you don't like where you're living right now, where do you want to live? You know, and the sky's infinite, no limits, you know, but do you really want to live there? Like I thought I wanted to live in the jungle, but, you know, not with people that are parasitic, you know, or, you know what I'm saying? Or I thought, you know, and I live in a beautiful place. I live in an amazing place and I created this. So, you know, I just went there because I don't like the cold. No, it's not true. I want the sun because the sun helps. It has Christic code, so I try to be in the sun as much as possible. So I made that happen for me, you know. So what do you want? And then let it come to you, let it happen. And I believe after this year, there might be some false starts right now this year when you think you want something and you're like, oh no, I don't want that, you know, I want this, or I like what I have. So it's gonna be, it's all about self-discovery. All that's the name of the game when you're incarnated in this time matrix. So discover yourself, and you know, how do you discover yourself? You reflect, you write. I'm a writer, so I write about myself, or I ask questions all the time, you know. This is a journal. It's a journal with pictures. You can draw pictures and all that kind of stuff, so it's helpful. It's on Amazon.
Now, what do you think about collateral damage that, maybe what happened to you wasn't a direct, something that needed to happen to you, that it wasn't karmically what you needed, it wasn't any lesson you needed, but the person maybe that took it from you needed to have some type of lesson. Maybe they needed something that you were just a collateral damage, that you were just, it happened to you, but it wasn't anything that, was maybe necessary for you to happen, but this event was necessary for someone else's journey, and you were just kind of that collateral damage to it.
Well, you draw to yourself what you need to experience. So anyone who's involved in something, if someone, if you have a car accident, someone's right there in front of you, it's for you too. It's for them, but it's for you too. But this also, still a lot of attacking going on. So I know on the highest level, okay, in the highest spiritual level, I know exactly what happened. It was the Tothian Collective. They know me very well, and they're very much guarding that area down there because it is a very powerful area. The Bacalar, Lagoon, the New Earth communities down there, have been co-opted by a lot of Tothian, Jehovian collectives. And the Mormons basically worship the fallen Anu Elohim collective. It says so, in their they worship the Elohim, but they think it's the high Elohim, it's the fallen Elohim, and they're. I tell you, when I canceled them, the women, of course, the men run everything. The women, they have 12, 13 wives or aunts, because they're not allowed to marry anymore. The children were so sexually abused. Absolutely no respect for children and women in that cult culture. And they're the second wealthiest church in the world after the Catholic Church. Well, the Catholic Church has been around forever. They're just like on this mission, and they collect DNA, the DNA of everyone on this planet they have on file. So it's dark and dirty. And as soon as I found out they were Mormon, I was like, I'm gonna get out of here. But then I thought, oh, stay. So there was something I was supposed to do at a higher level. The woman, she was like the dark mother. And although my mother I wrote a lot about her in my book, that was part of my healing process. And I know she's out of the matrix, Peter and I got her out of the matrix, but there was still there's something in me that wanted to heal women. There's something in me that just because I saw how much women have suffered on this planet. I was talking about it today at lunch with my girl from Vincenza, who also, Sicily, so much, the masculine is so over everything. And the women have had such a tough time. And, it's just being a woman in this dark masculine world that is so, so difficult. And I just wanted to heal her. And by wanting to heal her, I made myself vulnerable to this attack. And it was an attack. It was an all-out attack on me and to stop me from what I was trying to do down there. So that's what really happened.
Now, you mentioned, that you and Peter were able to get your mom out of the matrix. What does getting out of the matrix mean or look to you?
Well, it kind of surprised me what we did. And okay, so I have been guided to follow colonic science, which is okay. Speaker one, her name was Anna Hayes, Ashiana Dean, and now she goes by Ashiana. I don't worship her. I don't think, whatever, but a lot of things were happening, especially after Peter passed, and I didn't understand them. So I was guided. Actually, someone came and found me and started spending 4 hours on the phone like every night for a year talking to me. And I'd met him once in person with my old spiritual teacher. He said, "Don't follow our old spiritual teacher." And so he educated me. And then I began to understand where Peter was, what our job was, the true history of our planet. It explained a lot of things. And I didn't realize there's this whole war going on in that group, as with every group, because because people are people, and there's like Ashiana, and then there's Asiana. But the Asiana works with plasma energy now rather than like light body or radium, all those other bodies. She works with the plasma, which is an eternal internal creation. I was very surprised because what happened was, it's a very interesting story. My mother was very sick. I was trying to get to see her, but it was right. I couldn't get a plane out. It was during, here in Italy, it's called Fede Agosto. It's like the biggest holiday of the year. Everyone travels during August, and it was the height of August. So I couldn't get a plane out. And I was hoping she would hold on. Siri, stop listening to me.
Okay.
It's listening to me. It's recording this. Can you believe that?
The phone just turned on.
Yes, and it was flashing because I knew it was recording my voice when it said, "Okay, I'll stop listening to you." It did that in the bank too, by the way. This is the new iPhone 16. Okay, so listening about this ascension, isn't that interesting? So I do Reiki or whatever. So I've been working with her a lot because I was hoping she would hold on until I got to see her, but it wasn't supposed to happen that way. So I felt her pulse in my hand, and it was very weak. And so then I took my plasma body, because we all our highest bodies are plasma. And I would go into her body and like dip into it. And then Peter came and he dipped into her. So we were building up her plasma body, which is something through through exercises. I've been doing it for several years with Asiana. But I thought, this is weird. Why are we doing this, Peter? But I just did it. So we built up her plasma body. And then Peter took her. Okay, he hosted her out. And in her world, it was like she was getting in a taxi, and going to, Eartha. But and Peter was the driver. But in mechanics, he was taking her through one of these plasma gates, to the highest emanation of Tara. We said Tara, but it was really Eartha, the restored. It's where we go to get out of the time matrix. It's like the last point. It's like the portal out. So that's what happened, mechanically speaking. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I just watched it. I watched it all happen as you were talking about that.
And then just one more thing. I just talked about this morning. And then as soon as Peter left, I was holding her body. It was like kind of like blinking, like a blinking light, kind of with green life force. And all of a sudden it stopped. And I said, "Oh my God, my mother passed." It was 9 a.m. here because I'd woken up. I was kind of in a dream state. And I called the nursing home and I said, "Did my mother pass?" I said, "Yes." "How'd you know?" She passed at 3 a.m. It was 9 a.m. my time. Exact moment it happened. It was amazing.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that with us. So is, people getting out of the matrix, for say they do pass on, in this next little while, are they essentially looking for that portal? Are they looking to try to find a way? Maybe someone is going to be there to help guide them, to that. Some people think they're going to be guided right back to this place, that it's an infinite loop. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, don't follow the light. Follow the light. They've got this whole thing set up with iconic holographic images of Jesus, of your relatives, trying to get you to follow the light into the reincarnation cycle again. But I think the ascension's all about getting enough quantum, reconstructing your template enough, purging the lower frequencies enough so that you can just ascend back to the higher dimensions. But there's a lot of theories about that, but I just, I believe we're infinite, and I think we're going to be able to we're not going to take the old path. The old path took a longer way. I think we're going to get a direct shot, to where we want to go, because we've put up with a lot, haven't we? I mean, God, this is the unprecedented times. I don't think people are realizing how amazing this time we're living in. I mean, we've waited 260 billion years for this time. and we're getting a slingshot back. That's the word that I think Dave Emery used. We're getting a direct shot out of here because of the service we've rendered. But just have to hang on. And I'm not in. We had E.M. Parks on. And he said the stargates are open, and if you have the genetics, you can walk through them now. I'm not in any hurry to leave, really, although I have been for about 20 years because I miss Peter so much. But now I'm finally like, hey, just wait a minute, because I've got some things to do. It's going to get, we're bringing Earth here. You know what I'm saying? We're bringing paradise here. It's not there, and it's inside of you, first of all. And as you shift, you move into the higher dimensions because they're all here right now. These higher dimensions are within your what we call Huva body. You have all 15 dimensions right here. It's just your spin ratio, timeline, whatever, your awareness. So you bring it into you. So where you go when you drop your body, or if you move with your body, focus on the now. It's all happening in the now. Does that cover it?
Yeah, totally. And I've like, some people think of this as a hell realm, and obviously some people have grown into situations or been born into situations that they could definitely consider this a hellish place because of some of the horrific things that do happen in some of the world. But I've always seen this place as heaven, and I've always seen this place how it's supposed to be, and I've always tried to look at the positives and the good side of this life, and to create that heaven on earth like it was truly meant to be. And I think it is truly a mind space. And of course, if you've grown up and you're being in a war-torn place and tortured and even worse things happening to you, probably hard for you to think of this place as heaven, but it's because other people have made it into that hellish place, and that's not how it was supposed to be here. And I think that we will one day have this place back to the heaven that it was truly supposed to be.
You create your own reality. You create your own reality. I know sometimes it's hard to really hear that, but you create your own reality. And when you accept responsibility, I accept total responsibility for having $12,000 ripped off from me. Okay, yeah, all right, it happened. I learned a lot. Thank you. Thank you for the lesson. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm in a whole different reality. That's not going to happen to me again. No, it's not, because I realized where I had leaks, where I was in the old timeline. I create my own reality. I'm not, my world changes day to day, moment to moment, in the now. So, you are if you're in torn, whatever, you created that. If you're and you can shift, maybe the timeline will completely shift and you'll be in a whole nother reality, or you might actually move physically to a whole nother place with that, because there are pockets of low frequency on this planet that are going to be siphoned off. I think these smart cities will, if they come to fruition, they'll be siphoned off. So you don't want to be in those. You want to, pay attention, go where you're guided. But your don't think it's going to be this way unless you want to, because as you let go of your programming, you've been programmed to create misery. You've been programmed to be a victim, to be a slave. That's the programming. And every day as you let go of this programming, you can create a Barbie world. Sorry. Barbie world. A Barbie world. Sorry. You create a great world.
We have that which is says, so children choose to be tortured? ?
Everyone creates their own reality. I'm sorry. It really is true. It really is true now. Yeah. Did they do it to show us something? In the past, yes. I've been a martyr. I've been tortured. I can remember I've had horrible things happen to me. And that was part of us showing the other part of us, because we're all one. That was our right hand showing the left hand. Look, you hit me, it hurts you too. We're all one. We're all part of the infinite. And some people got it. Some people will never get it. They're going to slide into phantom and go back to space ducks because they're so into this victimizer. We played victims, we played victimizers. We've played both. All of us have. Sometimes some of us have been victim more than others, but that's all ending. It's all ending. Okay. It's all ending that we've done that. We don't need to martyr ourselves anymore, victimize ourselves. We don't have to do that anymore. Some people will keep doing it because they can't wake up from it. But those are part of the lower frequencies of duality, victim. Where when you get to the higher dimensions, the higher frequencies, you just know you're water, even though you're a snowflake. Everyone's different. We're all water. Why would you try to pollute your own water, your own essence? Why? You don't do that anymore.
We have Tony from our Facebook says, Elizabeth, do you feel we are soulful at conception or at birth?
Yeah, sure. Some people have full fetal integration. Some people remember their birth. They come into their bodies in the womb, and when they are birthed, they remember it. They remember who they are. And nowadays, what's happening really cool? I saw this other gal who's on the Bold and Brave Echo. I like her. She's a psychic. So I'm more with my kind of people there. And she's interviewing people, and I've saw some on Facebook. These children now, have you seen the kids? I saw this one kid, he was bawling, going, I died. Do you remember when I died? You were there. I don't want to be here. I don't want to come back. I'll come back another time. I don't want to live anymore. Because they're remembering all their past lives, which is difficult, but it's also kind of good for them because they're getting it out early, because they're going to be running by the time they're 10. But a lot of the kids are remembering all their past lives, and they're telling their grandmother and their grandfather who they were with them in another life. And if that happens to you, don't freak out. Just say, oh really? Oh, okay. So they don't, because if you freak out, they'll mind wipe it. So anyway. Interesting times.
You mentioned that you remembered your previous lives. How did you first remember that? How did you first know that it was a previous life? Like, when was the first time that you actually knew that you maybe had lived a previous life and started remembering those details?
Well, I travel a lot, so I have this, I guess it's a siddha, an ability, a gift to touch stones when I go to these places, and I can remember, I can see like what's going on there. And of course, there's a lot of history, so I might see one flash of this time, this, because it's history upon history upon history upon history. So I can see and remember my who I was when I was in the Acropolis in Greece. That was one of the first times, or walking into St. Peter's, when you are in these ancient sites. So that's what happened to me. And then if it's important, like for example, Peter is a little bit slower than me, he's a guy. So
Hey.
sorry, Peter. But sometimes you need to know about a lifetime you had, because it has to do with part of what you're here for. So for him, I'll just say for him, we went to this library, and it was in Ghost Ranch, a beautiful retreat center in the mountains of New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere. And we went to this library. I mean, this is the time when you read books back in the, what was it, 90s or something, 80s. And he was looking for a book, and he leaned over, and this book hit him on the head, and he said, oh, I guess this is important. And it was the life of Hippocrates. So he needed to know that. That was important for him because he was a doctor, and had to bring that to a higher level, because Hippocrates didn't do everything he was supposed to do. So sometimes you have to evolve. I messed up big time in the Renaissance, and I kept getting I was this person. I thought, well, no, not me. I couldn't be that person. And I'm not always, you're not always famous people. In fact, if you're a famous person, sometimes it means you screwed up, because, history was written wrong. So and the reason I was in the history books and I wrote a lot of books was because I translated the Emerald tablets, which were the stolen Emerald records, I channeled Thoth, and I created a lot of these fallen geometrical patterns. I was like a magician to the Medicis, and most Americans would know it, but if I said it in Florence, they're like, oh, but I was um, Ficino. I was Marsilio Ficino, who was a priest, a magician, to the Medici family. So I thought I was doing a lot of good. I did do a lot of good. I kind of brought the idea of the humanistic movement, and I said a lot of beautiful things, but I also got it co-opted, which is always happens to us, right? Because we're in a fallen universe, and we're always getting that the ear of the wrong people. So part of our job is to get it right this time. That's why I'm speaking right now. That's why I'm telling these things, because I'm correcting something I did in another identity, because it's all happening at once, right? And that's why I kept going back to Florence. I've lived in Florence for so many years. It's like every time I think I'm leaving Florence, I finally left Florence when I figured that out. And I'll probably end up going back. But anyway, it's to correct the Renaissance, because that was a whole scam. Anyway,
Well, we have
okay.
Dirk McGurk from our YouTube channel says, what are your thoughts on deja vu?
Yeah. Wasn't saying the Matrix is a glitch in the Matrix, but definitely, of course, deja vu, because we're in a time loop, guys. We're in a time loop. Haven't you? I mean, don't you feel it? This is why. Okay. My parents were therapists. I have a master's in mental health counseling. How many times have you done therapy or spiritual retreats or done things, and you feel like you lose something? You really worked so hard in changing yourself, and then it's like you go right back to it. I mean, and my parents have had, God bless them, they were great therapists, but they've had people in therapy for like 30 years, because the energy has kept us looping. Even if we get an aha moment, it fleets, because we get re-looped into this matrix that is breaking up. And that's why we got to get on the right timeline now. It's crucial that we get on the Kristalla spiral of organic time and out of this AI time loop. And don't buy into the AI, because that's what created it, the AI.
Now,
Okay.
what about our other, gifts, telepathy, telekinesis? Do you think that these are things people should be working on? Do you think that these are things that, you mentioned earlier that in this false illusionary AI matrix, they're going to, make people believe that they can do these things, but in a false sense. But
Yeah.
we also have these natural gifts that we've been given. Should be people trying to work on some of those things that we actually inherently have in ourselves, but without the artificial matrix.
Yeah. Great question. Who said that? I don't have my glasses on. Great.
That was my question.
Oh, that was your question. Great question. That's so important. You know why it's so important? Because we have divine technology. And when you're out, like when I was out in the jungle, my GPS didn't work. I had to use my intuition, or I wasn't listening to music. So I was hearing deafening inner sounds, and my body was buzzing, vibrating at such a high frequency. And I was just in tune with the nature, earth, fire, water, my intuition was really, really sharp. So what AI is doing is it's robbing you of that, because it's doing it for you. So you don't have a chance to flex that muscle. Okay, right? It's like someone, in a wheelchair, oh no, we'll do it for you. You don't even have to walk anymore. We'll just wheel you around. We'll tell you to turn right, turn left, when to wipe your rear end. I mean, it does everything for you, right? You walk into your house, Siri, open lights up or whatever, and it's robbing you of that. It takes a lot. Well, we have those natural abilities. We all have them. And some people have certain things and other people have other things, just like, some people can paint, some people can sing, and you want to find out by being with yourself, by meditating, by cutting off, turning off the unplugging, being in nature, talking to the Davis spirits, talking to your guides, your infinite source. You want to start developing that. Right now, I'm Peter was great at lucid dreaming. He said, if I die, how are we going to communicate if you can't lucid dream? And I'm like, oh, I just want to sleep, And I really am trying to work in my dreams more and more because they're getting more and more vivid, and I'm with him a lot, and he's trying to tell me things, and I'm like, fall back to sleep in my dream. So, we have to start. It takes work, right? And if we're always being distracted by this, and this keeps your brain in a loop. It binds the algorithms of your brain to it. So it uses the same pathways. When you use your psychic abilities, whatever you want to call them, it uses, they've measured yogis. It's using much more of your brain, firing, telepathy and all that. So, right? You get it? AI, divine technology, artificial technology.
What is
Right.
lucid dreaming?
Lucid dreaming is when you wake up in your dream and you're like, oh, I want to fly. So you fly, or you can go places. You can visit the higher dimensions. You can communicate with great beings, with higher beings. It's going beyond that astral plane that we first talked about in the fourth dimension. And it's being completely and when you lucid dream in your dreams, you can start manipulating your physical reality. Bring this to me. Wow. Okay. I have some money in my bank account. I needed 1,000. There it is. I want to talk to this person. Oh, hi. How are you? You walk out your door. They're there. I mean, your life is like you start living on a magic carpet where you just think and it happens. And you can do that in your dreams, or you can do, both ways. It's a Barbie world.
Now, when you mentioned, connecting to these higher beings, now there's a lot of people, especially a lot of people that are, publicly active on the internet, talking about they're connecting with different entities, different beings. Some people are connecting with, grays, aliens. Some people are saying they're good. Some people saying they're bad. Some people are connecting with, have bad experiences, connect with demons. Some people are having good experiences. They're connecting with Yeshua or, angels. Like, what's your thoughts?
Okay.
How there's so many people that are connecting in so many different ways and are being very vocal and public about it.
Yeah. I'm glad you called me on that. Okay, don't connect with beings at all. Angels, Metatron, archangels. I mean, they're all fallen angelics. They're all trying to get in your head. They're all trying to tell you half truths, tell you lies with truths. Okay, and if you channel them and they come into you, they're going to just distort your Christic template. So don't. Now, it's kind of hard. There's so much synthetic telepathy going on, voice of God technology. There's so many fallen angelics, and so much crap going on. And I don't listen to anyone that says, I talk to that. I mean, those days are over. You don't want to go there. What I say is, well, see, I have Peter, so he's kind of my ace in the hole because I've spent so many times in the physical with him. I know his signature, and I trust him completely because he's the other half of me. We're one. We sparked out, and we're one. So he's there, but also I just say go to infinite source. So ask for God, infinite source. God really means it means to invoke. So who are you? Go to source, infinite source, because I say source could be AI source, like Elon Musk's source is different than infinite source. And then I all I can say is I download information like when I write, or sometimes when I talk, it's just like it comes through me, it streams through me. It's not like, oh, I'm talking to, this angel. But I think it's part of that learning curve, like learning lucid dreaming or whatever. You start to discern if it's a pure, clean energy that energizes you, and you feel, you just feel, we got to start learning to trust where we're going, and but angels and entities, just, I say, surf the infinite and get your information. Ask a question. that you want to know, and then let the information kind of just come to you, and don't think of where it's coming. Just kind of let it, try to go to the highest possible information you can get. Um, and you'll start to discern. You have that ability. Everyone has that ability, and we're going to get it more and more every day.
Do you think
Is
that
that
that God infinite source is also communicating then with people through different entities? Do you think that maybe they're meeting people where they're at? So if you're very science based and you think spaceships and aliens and all that, and then all of a sudden you're connecting to some higher entity, God infinite source would maybe come to you as some type of entity that looked like an alien, because that's where you would, kind of, comprehend what this interaction may be. Or if you're very religious based, and you're think everything is about the Bible and religion, and then all of a sudden some, yeah, God infinite source needed to give you a message, connect with you in a positive or negative, because sometimes infinite source has to give you some kind of a negative experience for you to wake yourself up from a loop, maybe like a dark loop that you're in.
Mm.
And do you think that, God infinite source could potentially, connect with you through these entities or beings and meet you where you're at and have that experience that you need with what entity that you maybe would believe,
Mm.
to have that experience?
Okay, well, let me just good question, and all I can say is my experience, okay? But first of all, if entities, that are coming to you, I mean, everything is infinite source, even the fallen angelics, it's all part of source. So, and if you call to that, there might be something, but um, entities usually have agendas. Okay, so it's not that they're good or bad; they just might have an agenda. The agenda might be to whatever, have sex with you and just parasite off of you. They might be parasiting off of you. So just be aware of that. But this is how I do, and I'm very good. One of my studies is reading signs and symbols. Okay, so I'll just say, I'll be confused about something, and I've just started really realizing, hey, ask, what is, the true nature of, whatever this person. Okay, what is the true nature of this person? Maybe I'm stumped about them. Maybe it's a president. Maybe it's a billionaire. Maybe it's a friend. Whatever. What's the true nature of this person? Please reveal it to me. I just let it out there. And then it just starts to come to me. It might come like I might be seeing things. I might go inside of their energy, or signs and symbols might come up, like I might oh, I've had a rat come into my house last summer. It was wreaked havoc. I couldn't get rid of him. And then one day he just left, and it was the same kind of parasitic energy. Like I was, it was telling me about people around me. You know what I'm saying? So things will come into you. Maybe a bum or a drunk on the street. I actually had a drunken guy once come into a bar. I was having dinner at this bar in Malibu. I was sitting up at the bar eating, and he stumbled in from a storm, and he was drunk. And he looks at me, and goes, "You have no father. You have no husband. You have no son. You belong to no man." And then he like left. It was like, what? I mean, those kind of things happen to me. So if I ask, I know somebody's gonna tell me, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna feel that it wasn't parasitic. They didn't have an agenda. It was just sometimes infinite source had to tell me something. And they'll tell me whatever way possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. The
Okay.
wild experience. V11 from our YouTube says, Elizabeth, what are your thoughts on reincarnation? Are we in a mathematical construct? Your thoughts on gematria, geometry, language, numerology, the creator's language? Does math lie? And we talked about reincarnation before, so maybe you could, rewind that if you want to know her thoughts on reincarnation, because she was telling us about,
Yeah.
her other lives. But, your thoughts on gematria, language, numerology, the creator's language. Does math lie?
Okay. Let's just finish up with this because I know we're over time, right? So, um, okay, yeah. Basically, unfortunately, the geometry that we've come to know as sacred is actually fallen. It's a finite geometric architecture that has kept us imprisoned and reincarnating because we can't escape it. We can't go back to source. So we have to keep looping. And every time we loop, of course, we are mind wiped. And so we call that reincarnation. But actually, there's no time. So these lifetimes are happening around us all the time. Like if you go to a historical place, you might encounter you that was there, in another timeline, but it's still just an alternate identity of you. So, okay. So it was kind of long. I'm kind of like, oh.
I did have one more question, and that's my final question. You're talking about these parasites and, these entities. Some people think that these entities that we're maybe manifesting and connecting with, they're actually maybe just physical parasites that we have going on inside of us. And because of, the various world with all the synthetic foods and parasites and things, that when you have an overrun parasitic body, then you're going to manifest these parasitic type of entities, because it's just trying to warn your body, hey, you got stuff going on, you need to figure stuff out, and you maybe continue on having these manifestations of entities when it's actually really happening, but in small parasites inside of the body.
Definitely there's a connection. I mean, most everybody has parasites, and I do parasitic cleanses all the time, with wormwood and drops and stuff. It's just there. And in the low frequencies, the high 5G, breeds that and mold and all that kind of stuff. And you're right, they're putting them in the water. They're putting it in the food. I mean, but there are also etheric, energetic parasites that have like feeding tubes that connect to you, that parasite your energy, and they're connected to your inner parasites who actually can control your vagus nerve, which we're not supposed to have a vagus nerve anyway. That's almost like Stargate. If everyone saw that movie, they inject these worms inside of you. We're not supposed to have a vagus nerve, and they attach to that, and they cause you. They connect to your brain, and they cause you to crave things, sweets and stuff that like feed me, Seymour. They keep you in that loop. So definitely, we're in a parasitic world, but we're getting out of that. You raise your frequency, and you poke through the veil, the matrix, and you're out. And it's coming. It's happening every day. Just let the plasma frequencies, the crystal codes come in from the sun. I'm always out there. If the sun's out, I'm out there. Be with nature, ground yourself, connect to the inner earth with this beautiful Schumann residency, the Nomi seed that is, it's so high. The frequencies are really high right now. So get out and submerge yourself in it. Getting sleepy.
When I let Hawk out today, I opened the door, and usually I just let him in the gate, and I got blasted by sunshine. It's a little colder here in Canada, so it's just starting to warm up. It's going to actually really warm up this week, and I just kind of froze, and I just took in. I was like, wow, and it was just beautiful to feel that, and I just paused there for a few minutes, because I just wanted to feel that sun that, we so need. The body so needs it.
Yeah.
But I have go ahead.
You can see those codes. I mean, I'm not saying stare at the sun, but sun gazers that can do it. I can do it. You can see the rainbow codes overlaid in the suns that your genetics are taking in. So yeah,
I'm constantly staring at the sun. I was at one point, and this was, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, where I was on my mountain bike and I smoked a big joint, and then I just started looking at the sun, and everywhere I drove, I just stared right into the sun. I wasn't even paying attention much around me. And when I came up to, like, say, a building where all of a sudden I can see the sun because of the, behind the building, I felt cold. I felt like I needed the sun. I raced to the other side just so I could stare back at the sun. And I was going to adult upgrading school at the time. And this was probably about 11 a.m. And my class started at 2 p.m. And I went to my first class, was with my science class. And I had a science teacher, and I looked at the board, and everything I seen was sunspots. I must have saw 1,000 sunspots on the board. And I told my teacher, I said, hey, I just really felt like staring into the sun. And I stared in the sun for like an hour, hour and a half, and she's like, you probably burnt your retina or whatever. And for me, I had the most perfect vision, and it maybe did, a little bit of damage, but I just, I love
Yeah.
looking at the sun. I'm constantly looking right into the sun. It's harder to look at the sun now. It seems like it's a lot more
Yeah.
powerful now than it was, 10 or 15 years ago, but sure appreciate and love the sun. So we have your website,
So,
theinfinitehuman.com, and your YouTube channel, Infinite Human Productions. Please tell us what they can find, where people can find your book. Tell us and where the people can find your show.
okay, yeah. Infinitehuman.com really has everything, and all my stuff's on Amazon and Ingram too. If you look up Elizabeth Monroe, have an artist page. I have like 12 books out there now, children's books, like you said, and other stuff. And well, Bold and Brave is producing it, but I think that's also on my website. It's also on my YouTube channel, and then the talk shows podcasts are on there too for the past year. So we've been doing Tartaria for a while. So anything that jumps out at you, you can find on my podcasts in the past that might help you too. Blogs, I got blogs there, and everything's free. So it's all about. Unless you buy a book, because that's the work, but the blogs and the talk show and stuff, so all free. And hopefully that will expand if you have some questions about what we talked about today. And I just love you, Jesse. And Angeline, tell her hi. She's hi,
Elizabeth says
Angeline.
hi. People were asking what I was looking back. My face lit up, and people were like, "What are you looking at?" And Paul was like, "Angeline must be rubbing your feet." And I was
Oh,
just,
yeah.
Angeline was just here, and we were just smiling at each other. So that's people
Good,
were
good.
wondering what I was looking at. But EV11 says creator codes are 1122334455. I was born a life path 11, so fascinating on that. So
11. Oh, that's a master number. 11. Yeah, you were born a
yeah.
master. Sure, of course, that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
next week on the Missing Link Live on Monday, we've got Patrick. I don't have his last name written here. He's going to be doing some politics in Ontario, Canada. We've got Dr. David Cartland. So that's on Monday, April 7th. On the 8th, we've got Alexander Levite from Israel. So that's going to be a fascinating interview. He says these are going to be some mind-blowing revelations. On Wednesday, we've got Candace Hill. On Thursday, we've got Arnold Hanoi, I think another politician. Canada had a snap election coming up, so we've got a lot of politicians coming on. And then Friday, we've got Spencer Clavan. On Saturday, we've got Mark Bakar, another PPC candidate. And then Sunday, April 13th, we've got Johnny Cerrucci coming back. So he goes hard on the Jesuits. And, that is next week on the Missing Link Live. So thanks again. Any final thoughts, words of wisdom, positive inspiration, anything you wanted to share before we leave here?
It's a Barbie world. Barbie. Anyway, yeah, you're infinite. You are divine, infinite. All there
Thank
is,
you.
ever has been, and never shall be. Thank you. Love you. Love you. Love you.
Thank you. We
Okay.
love you too, Elizabeth. Let's
Bye,
all face infinity
everybody.
without flinching. For one
Yeah.
love, one heart, one life. May the source be with you and protection around you during this pivotal time in history. If they ever ask you to put on a breathing inhibitor again, Elizabeth, you know what to say?
Namaste.
No mask, eh?
Namaste. Okay. Bye, and I love your tribe. Bye, tribe.
Okay,
It's my tribe, our tribe.
our
Bye.
tribe. Bye, everyone. Bye.